Hi out there. It's Emily Read Aloud time. It's 6 o'clock. It's Monday, I think. May 4th. I'm rocking my sweet hairdo. I'm doing a music video for our scavenger hunt this weekend. I rewrote the words for Let It Go into Black Island theme. Goodness, so I kept my look for you. Family Read Aloud. I thought it would entertain you. Apologies if it does not. I promise I will not be singing for you. I will not subject you to that. But I will be reading for you. We are reading Finding Langston by Lisa Kline Ransom. It was published by Holiday House. Hi, Mom. So here we go. When we left off on Friday, Langston had brought some books home. He's really overjoyed with all that the library can offer him and how many books he can take out and that he can take any books out in the first place. And he's trying to find out why he was named Langston. He's asking his dad. His dad said his mom picked it. So he's staying up late reading books because it's very exciting to him while he is surviving and living in Chicago. So we're going to see what happens next. Okay? Okay, chapter 8. Here we go. I wake up to Daddy fussing. Come on, son, we got to get a move on. Just like back at home, Saturday is the day me and Daddy run errands. When I roll over on top of my book, I look, but Daddy's back is turned to me, buttoning his suspenders. I tuck the book away and pull on my clothes. I eat my burned toast, and Daddy gathers up some papers and folds them into his jacket. Out in the hallway, loud music is coming from the apartment next door. Down 2 flights, our neighbor on the second floor has her apartment door open, and the smell of eggs and bacon frying in a skillet on the stove makes my stomach growl. We step around younger boys playing marbles on the sidewalk. Makes me wish my Saturdays were my own with nothing on my mind but friends and marbles. We start off down Wabash, cut through the alley, and walk behind the buildings over to Indiana. Out on the sidewalks in front, I could pretend Chicago ain't so bad, but in the alleys and around and back of the buildings, ain't no hiding in the dirt. We gotta jump over puddles of dirty water and busted up furniture, piles of trash. I hate walking in back of the buildings, but it's a shortcut. Back home, we couldn't see a neighbor for miles. I'll never get used to people living on top of each other. I'll never get used to everyone knowing what time you get up in the morning and what you're cooking for breakfast. And everyone too busy to say a decent morning when you see them on the street. Back home, I had space to breathe. Had to walk down the road a ways to get to our nearest neighbor, but if somebody got sick or was in need of a hand, folks were there to help before you knew it. I knew I had to act right because someone was always watching, waiting to get word back to my folks. Here in a city filled with people, I can count on one hand how many know my name. First, we go to the bank so Daddy can cash his check. Then he drops off the rent money. Then Daddy tucks some bills into an envelope he mails to the post office. It's the money he mails to Aunt Lena back home. She's all alone with her 3 girls, plus she's watching out for Grandma too. I asked Daddy once why he sends money every week when sometimes it means we gotta go without. A man takes care of his family, is what he said. But I thought, ain't I family? I don't mind being outside running errands, even with the days getting colder. Can't stand being cramped inside with nowhere to turn and missing Mama hanging between me and Daddy. Makes our small apartment feel like a closet. Plus, I know when we get back to our apartment, Daddy will fill the small sink with water and soap powder to wash our clothes. The sink in the corner of our room is hardly big enough to wash our dishes, so it sure ain't fit for washing clothes. They never get as clean as Mama could get them with her wash tub. Daddy hangs a rope across the room to hang the clothes till they dry stiff and hard. No matter how hard Daddy wrings them, they still drip on the floor. We just gotta shake them smooth because we don't have an iron. Saturday was always Mama's wash day. She'd sort all the clothes into piles and start to washing early in the morning before cooking breakfast. Once we got up, she stripped the sheets from the beds and washed them too. It would take near the whole day to wash, hang the clothes out on the line, and iron them. But I loved the way the house smelled clean with wood polish and soap. And on Saturday night, after my bath, when I lay in my bed, my pillowcase, worn thin from washing and sun, smelled sweet. Our last stop is the fish market. Line is out the door, but we line up too, making our way to the counter and leaving footprints in the sawdust on the floor. Daddy likes to have fish on Saturdays, like Mama fried up back home. Fresh porgies dipped in egg, a little cornmeal and flour, and fried in a big pot of hot grease till they were golden brown and crispy on the edges. Time Daddy finished eating, nothing but a pile of bones left on his plate. Mama would boil vinegar on the stove later to get rid of the fish smell, but Daddy don't bother about the smell in our apartment. And this fish don't taste nothing like Mama's, but I eat it just the same. Mama used to smile as she watched the bones pile up on our plates. She'd rub Daddy's back as she sat at the table, talking nonstop when our mouths were full and keeping an eye out to make sure we had enough. It tasted so good I didn't stop eating till I felt sick. Next! Fishman calls out and Daddy steps forward. Pound of porgies, Daddy says, heads and tails on. Country, someone snickers from behind. I think it's one of the kids from school till I turn and see only grown-ups in line behind us. I look at Daddy. Don't think he heard because he doesn't say anything and doesn't turn around. The fishman hands him the fish wrapped in brown paper. Out on the sidewalk, I say, ever make you mad when people call you country? Ain't no shame in being from the country, Daddy says, not slowing down. At school, I start, but I can't say it. At school what? Daddy asks. Nothing, I answer. We're just about at the fourth floor when I see Miss Fulton coming out of her apartment with her shopping cart, and my chest gets tight. I'm so tired from staying up last night reading, I just want to get into bed and close my eyes. Afternoon, Miss Fulton, Daddy says. Afternoon, Henry, she says back, sweet as can be. I ain't seen Daddy smile this hard since we moved to Chicago. Langston be happy to help you with your cart. Langston would not be happy to help you with your cart. Langston is tired and... That's so kind. Her smile at me ain't nothing like the one she had for Daddy. So it's back downstairs to the market and back again, her wide behind swinging in my face all the way up the stairs with me dragging a heavy cart step by step. Time I get back, the clothes are hanging from the line and Daddy's already started frying the fish. I close the door soft and make my way to the bed when he says, we need to get this floor swept and mopped. I get the broom from the closet and start sweeping. As the pile of dirt grows bigger, I keep thinking I'm never going to stay up late reading again. But when the fish is gone, the plates are washed, the floor is swept and mopped, and Daddy is snoring, all I can think about is how much I wish I were back in Alabama, in a house that didn't smell like fish and sound like a honky-tonk on a Saturday night, and how I wish I could hear the night sounds of crickets and feel my mama's soft lips on my forehead. My eyes are heavy, but I still pull out the book from my hiding spot and read. Folks, I come up north because they told me the north was fine. I come up north because they told me the north was fine. Been up here 6 months. I'm about to lose my mind. I'm not the only Langston was lied to. Every Sunday morning we walk down the block to church, not like church at home, painted white with pews inside. This church got a sign painted out front that says Praise Tabernacle. Dad and I sit all the way at the back of the church that don't feel like nothing like a church. More like a store, but the folks inside are dressed like church folks and praising like church folks, jumping from their seats when the music gets good and the preacher gets to preaching loud. With hats so tall I can barely see up front, but I can hear the preacher shouting from the stage. Daddy brought along his Bible, so we read Proverbs 3:5 along with the deacon's scripture reading. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Daddy used to read his Bible every night after supper. Since Mama died, only time he picks us up is Sundays when we head to church. Got a feeling we're here because he feels Mama would have wanted it for me. But his heart ain't here, and neither is mine. It's like our faith got buried right along with Mama, and now it's covered over with dirt and a tombstone back in Alabama. Chapter 9. I found the letter came in the mail last week. Daddy'd been hiding it under his bed. I'm up late for school, and Daddy left me behind. Usually we walk together to the end of the block. Then he goes left for the L, and I go right for the school. Today I turned the apartment upside down looking for my key. I find 4 pennies fell out of Daddy's pocket and one of my old marbles I've been looking for. In a crack between the floorboards, I finally find the key. But while I'm looking under Daddy's bed, I see a shoebox pushed all the way into the corner. I know it isn't right. I can hear Daddy's voice in my head saying, looking at something don't belong to you is same as stealing. A sin. Folks always say my daddy's a godly man, but he don't leave much room for things that ain't a sin. So even though I know it's a sin, I open the box and take a look. I see a couple of letters with the wiggly writing, and other letters at the bottom tied with a ribbon. These don't have envelopes, just girly writing, smell like perfume. I'll get to those later, but first I open the letter I want. Dearest Henry, God's blessing on you and Langston. Hope you both are well in Chicago. Bet it's cold there now. Henry, I'm sorry to tell you Mama is doing poorly. Since she got that cold last month, she just can't seem to get right. Keep me up half the night coughing, not that I'm complaining. God has blessed me with the strength to carry on in good times and bad. We sure appreciate the money you've been sending, but with her cough getting worse, I may need a little something extra to get her to the doctor if you have it to spare. Tell Langston be good for his daddy. Prayerfully yours, Lena. Grandma's sick? I never seen my grandma sick a day in my life. I barely saw Grandma sit down, let alone take it to bed. Mama said that was because she was used to taking care of herself after Daddy's daddy died. Since then, she had to be a mama and a daddy, a man and a woman, I guess. She cooked just as good as she farmed. Sundays after services seemed like half the church would come by for supper. Grandma had a long table, and she'd lay out dish after dish on her old lace tablecloth. After the ham, macaroni and cheese, fried okra, biscuits, green beans swimming in butter, and sweet tea, Mama and Aunt Lena cleared the table and brought out the pies. Grandma sat at the head telling stories. When Mama took sick, was Grandma came and tended to her when me and Daddy couldn't. Treated Mama like a newborn baby, washing her, feeding her, changing the sheets when she wet herself. And at night, after Grandma cooked our dinner and cleaned up too, she sat by the bed, brushing and plaiting Mama's hair and singing songs so sweet my eyes filled with water. She loved Mama near as much as me and Daddy. God blessed me with another child I didn't have to birth or burp, she'd say and laugh. She knew Mama's family before Mama was even born. Her people lived down the road till they passed when Mama was still young. I'm so late now, I'm going to get sent to the office. I put the key in my shoe and raced down the steps to the school. The principal, Mr. Freeman, is talking to a teacher when I run into the office for a late pass, and he just waves me on to class. I slip into my seat, trying to quiet my breathing so Mrs. Robbins don't turn around from the chalkboard. Between the letter and being late, I barely noticed that Lyman didn't come to school. It means I can take my time going to the library. Clem and Errol barely look at me as I walk through the schoolyard. On the way to the library, I notice the trees in the sidewalk have leaves that are just starting to turn yellow. The same yellow I watched from my bedroom back home every year when the weather started to turn. In the spring, the smell of white blossoms made Mama smile, and on a hot Alabama day, you could almost hide from the sun under its branches. Every year, when the first flowers showed up, Mama would cut off a few branches and put them in water in a mason jar. Sit them right in the middle of the kitchen table. So we don't have to go outside to smell springtime, she'd laugh. Daddy said she was looking at too many of those white women's magazines, but I thought they looked real pretty. Think he did too. We both loved how white blossoms on a branch could make her so happy. Downstairs in the library, I plop my book on the librarian's desk. Finished early? I want to take out more, I tell her. She laughs. That's fine. Here, she points. The return slot is here. Just put them in there and go check out more books. Thanks, I mumble, shamed again to not know yet how the library works. You have any books on trees, I ask? Right over there in the nonfiction section. Try the 580 call number, she says. Don't know what nonfiction means or if there are really 580 books on trees, but I look anyhow. I walk up and down the rows and then I see one book and a lot more all about trees. All kinds of trees, too. I never knew there were so many. I take one of the tree books down from the shelf and go to the table by the window. I look through the pictures for a magnolia tree and find one right in the middle of the book. A big color picture, smooth and shiny. I add another Langston Hughes book on top of the magnolia book and pull my card out of my satchel and wait for the librarian to thunk a stamp in my books. Chapter 10. I'm in Alabama under the shade of magnolia with red ants crawling up my trouser legs and the buzz of gnats swarming my head. The sun is hot, but under the branches it feels almost cool. Mama sits on the porch fanning away flies. She laughs when she sees me. Aunt Langston? I look up at Mrs. Robbins' bony knees. Langston, the bell rang 5 minutes ago, she says. Time to come inside. Sorry, ma'am, I didn't hear it, I mumble. Well, you put down that book, you might, she says, sharp. What are you reading anyway? She asks, walking ahead into the school. I found a book in the library about magnolia trees, just like the ones back home. And it's time to focus on school now, Langston, and not trees. And you're not in the South anymore. You're a smart boy, but you need to focus on doing well here in Chicago. Yes, ma'am, I say. We can hear the classroom from down the hall. Without Mrs. Robbins in the room, they're loud and horsing around. When I walk in, it gets quiet. I walk to my seat. Happened to you, country boy? The boy in the desk behind me asks. Scared to come back in, I guess, laughs Lyman. Quiet, class, Mrs. Robbins yells. Time to get back to work. Let's get our history textbooks open to page 65, please. At the end of the day, I'm walking my usual fast, leaving the school, pushing past all the kids in the schoolyard, and I just about make it to the fence when I see him. He's right there at the sidewalk waiting. Ain't going to be no getting home in a hurry now to read before Daddy gets home. Spent all this time hating being alone, and now all I want is the quiet to look at my books. Plus, I got a box of letters under Daddy's bed needs looking at. But Lyman ain't interested in letters and books. Lyman is interested in Langston. So when he starts his stuff, I tell him, leave me alone! Yell it right in his face. Lyman is so shocked he don't say nothing at first. That is, till Errol and Clem start laughing. He told you, Lyman, they chant. When he sees me sort of smiling and trying to keep walking, his fist hits my mouth so hard I near think my head will break in two. Fight! Fight! I hear everyone yelling. This ain't what I want, but Lyman's wound up. Before he swings again, one of the teachers, who's supposed to be watching us, yells, Enough! Red-faced, he stands with his hands on his hips. Looks like he's ready to snatch us both up. Go on home now, he shouts to the crowd as everyone begins walking away. Lyman leans over, whispers in my ear, See you tomorrow, country boy. Time I get to Wabash, I've wiped most of the blood from my lip, but I can feel it getting big and know Daddy's going to be mad. Daddy's always wanted me to turn the other cheek till I ain't got another cheek to turn. I'm digging the key out of my shoe when I hear Miss Fulton's door open behind me. I pretend I don't hear. Langston, she says. She does know my name. Ma'am, I say, not wanting to turn till I can wash off my lip. You hear me talking to you? She asks. Yes, ma'am, I say, still not turning, still digging for my key. She walks over and pulls at my shoulder. When I'm talking to you, She stops. What happened to your lip? She asks. Oh, nothing, ma'am. Just horsing around with some boys at school. Don't like lying, but there ain't no way I'm talking to her about much of anything. You're gonna need to put something on that, she says. Come with me. I follow her into her apartment. Sit there, she says, and points to a chair. She goes to the sink. First, she dabs at my lip with a wet cloth. Then she pours a little something from a bottle on the shelf and dabs that on my lip. Ow! I yell. Burns! Just a little, but it will keep it from getting infected. Thanks, Miss Fulton, I say, getting up to leave. I gotta be getting home now, before Daddy gets in. She stares at me. Head tilted to the side like she's trying to decide something serious. Well, okay then, she says finally. In the apartment, I go to the table and take out the tree book. But now I can't see Mama on the porch, or the ants crawling up my legs. Just see Lyman and hear Errol and Clem laughing. Tomorrow's going to be worse than today. I close the book and take out my school books. I can hear the slow thump of Daddy's feet up the steps. Then I hear Miss Fulton's door open across the hall and Daddy's steps stop. I can hear them talking, but not so good. I get up and listen closer at the door. They talk so long I go back to the table and my books. Finally, I hear Daddy's key in the door. Hi, Daddy, I say, head in my books, not looking up. Son, he says. He puts a greasy sack on the table, picked up chicken from the place on the corner. I stand to get the plates, but Daddy grabs my shoulder, turns my head to him. What happened? He asks, looking at my lip. I'm tired and my lip is hurting, and I hate Lyman, and the tree book ain't good to me no more, and I miss my mama. But I can't say any of those things, so I just let the water go. One big drop after the next. Daddy sits me down and pulls up the other chair close. That's where we're going to leave off for today. We'll pick up with chapter 11 tomorrow at 6 p.m. We'll resume finding Langston tomorrow. If you've been doing music time at the library and Kristen and Miss Carrie, that's tomorrow at 11. Don't forget about that. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, our Island Free Library YouTube channel. And we will keep reading this book tomorrow, 6 p.m. Okay? Okay. Good night out there.